London AIM and Toronto venture-listed Eco Atlantic Oil and Gas is exploring in Guyana, adjacent to the prolific Exxon block in the area. Eco has multiple targets, not just in Guyana, but also blocks as well in Namibia. It's looking to drill 2 holes this year in Guyana. Let's get an update now with Gil Holzman, who's Chief Executive. Gil, welcome.
Good afternoon, Jeremy.
I know you've also produced... Well, it's good to speak to you because I know you've also produced 9-month numbers recently. I know you're pre-revenue, so we won't go into too much detail about that, but it does give us an insight into cash. But tell us first of all about what's happening in Guyana, because clearly it's going to be an exciting year. It's
all combined. The fact that we have cash will allow us to drill, spudding the first well in 3 months, actually, from today. We are planning at least 2 wells to be drilled in Guyana this year. We announced a week and a half ago that we contracted, together with our JV partners, Tullow as the operator and Total, we contracted the Stena 4th drill ship. This is a very big rig that is enabled to drill offshore Guyana. We're going to mobilize this rig from West Africa by the end of May, and we're going to spud our first well, which targets a prospect called Jeffrey Loeb, first week of June. Immediately after, we hope to drill a second well, using the same rig. As we speak, we are at the drawing table with Tullow and Total, trying to identify exactly which of the many targets that we see there we're actually going to drill second, and hopefully for me, for our shareholders, in 4 or 5 months from now, we have a big oil discovery. Yeah, so, okay, so you know where the first one's going to be, not too sure yet about the second. What you do know is, I think, is the cost of each drill. Is that right? You've got 20, I think it's $20 million US, haven't you, cash at the moment on the balance sheet? That's correct. The way we structure it is that we included all the cost of the mobilization of the rig, the demobilization of the rig, the extra casing that we're going to put on the rig, the wellheads. We included everything on the first well. The first well was budgeted very conservatively. We estimate over 40 days of drilling and quite a high budget. So the first well we announced in December, we quoted it at $7.6 million US net to Eco. However, since then we managed to make some modifications and get some deductions. So now we look at around $7 million ticket. However, if we manage to drill it in a few days less, it will probably end up a bit less. But however, the second well, which we're going to use the same drill ship, we already amortized the mobilization and demobilization cost, is probably going to be much cheaper. On average, going forward, and from the experience that we see from Exxon next door, we could probably drill wells of $35 million each offshore Guyana in our block, together with Tullow and Total. So on average, going forward, each well is going to cost around $4.5 million net, $5 million net to the company. These are very cheap wells, relatively, for an offshore environment. And as you said, we have $20 million as a result of our Total deal. Our G&A is very lean. We run the company on very few people, and we try to keep the G&A and other costs to a minimum, let's say $1 million, $1.5 million a year maximum. So we are pretty well positioned to drill at least 3 wells, hopefully 2 for sure this year, but who knows, let's see. So where do you go then after that? Because clearly you're a company, I know, that doesn't have aspirations to continue to take oil and gas out of the ground. You want to sell on, don't you? You want to get shareholder return. What do you do after this, once you get these drill holes in the ground and up and running? I had one of our biggest shareholders who told me that I look very bad in helmets. He said, it doesn't fit. Yellow helmet doesn't fit. It's a style thing. Yeah, it doesn't fit you. Listen, having Tullow, a big company and very successful company in my mind, and having Total, the second largest super major in the world, as your partners, I don't think they need us for the long future as partners on a hopefully producing block or producing field. And we are not in the business of being oil producers for the next 25 years. Let's be honest about it. We are very good at what we do. We're very good to identify opportunities. We're very good in exploring, and hopefully we will prove to the market that we are very good in discovering oil. However, we're not a downstream kind of a company. Probably we're not going to be producing oil for the next 25 years, and we will simply be bought out for the oil that we have in Guyana by one of the big players who continuously looking to register more oil on their balance sheet. This is, again, let's hope that we'll get there, but this is probably an inevitable result. Even if we don't want to sell, someone will come and buy us for the oil. The most likely guys that are in the region, Exxon, Total, Tullow, Repsol, they know exactly what is the environment. They understand the amazing fiscal terms that we have there. And as I said, let's us first drill, discover some oil, and then we'll see. But again, I'm not going to be sitting on a rig for the next 25 years.
Let's bring up your share price, because I think this reflects in part what you're talking about, this big uplift we've seen since the beginning of this year, when shares were started out the year at around about 40 pence. Here we are now at 74.80. This is a London-listed share of Eco Atlantic Oil and Gas. What do you say to shareholders about where you are at the moment? Are you fully priced in terms of what you're going to be doing this year, or is there still further upside? Of course, depending, I guess, on what happens with the drill holes.
You know, if you ask me, I think we're heavily undervalued. But and I tell you why. Guyana is the hottest exploration area in the world. It's proven to be one of the biggest oil basins. It's a pool of oil over there, and we're talking about a block which is 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers down deep from us. So the potential of us discovering oil, giving the Exxon latest 12 discoveries, is getting higher and higher. This is one. In terms of the prospectivity, we issued a CPR, a competent person report, third-party competent person report, last September, suggesting that our block, the Orinduik block, Tullow, Total, and ourselves, might host 3 billion, or has the potential to host 3 billion barrels of oil. That only took into consideration the Cretaceous play. Right. Exxon drilled another well right after we issued our CPR, or in parallel to us issuing the CPR, and they came up with a big discovery by the name of Hammerhead. Hammerhead is not a Cretaceous play, it's a tertiary play. And Hammerhead actually, by all the professional people and from all the data that we see, from the seismic data that we have, Hammerhead it appears to extend into our block. So Hammerhead is a discovery made by Exxon that it looks like that the tail of it sits on our block. That higher the chances of us finding oil on our block. Now, if we calculate only the 3 billion barrels of Cretaceous that we identified, I believe tertiary has a potential to add probably 1 billion. But let's just stick to the 3 billion number. Our net exposure is around 450 million barrels. Let's call it 400 million barrels. A barrel of oil in the ground in Guyana is quoted by Hess and Exxon and CNOOC to value $8 net. So we're talking about a price in a size of, let's say, $3 billion. Even if we cut it, not by half, by 3. We're talking about $1 billion worth of oil that might be net to us. We are only at $120 million market cap. Okay, so there's still a lot of room to go, in my mind. Again, we need to be successful and we need to come up with the oil. Having said that, I think that the share price does not necessarily reflect the size of the prize in 4 months from now. It mainly reflects the belief of the market on us delivering according to our promise. We said back in 2017 when we listed here that we're going to shoot 3D on the block. We did it much earlier than anyone expected. And instead of shooting 1,000 square kilometers, we shot 3,000 square kilometers. Then we said that we might identify a big partner to come in. Total came in. Then we said, listen guys, we're going to drill much earlier than expected. Our license commitment is to drill the first well in 2023. We're going to drill a well in 2019. And we now announced the rig, and we have the target. I think the market and the share price appreciation, which is still, in my mind, very much undervalued, is a reflection of the belief of the market.
Okay, let's pick up that point about 4 months. What are you going to do in 4 months? We have the first well completed, or are you going to be then the second well underway?
We will spud the first well, let's call it first week of June. We calculate 40 days, 43 days for the well. So by the second week of July, we're going to have results. Right. Hopefully very positive results. Then immediately after, we're going to spud the second well. And again, a 30, 35 days kind of a well. So middle of July and middle of August, we're going to have results from 2 wells, very high impact wildcats offshore Guyana.
Yeah. You and I, we first spoke about the opportunity that you were offering shareholders, I think back in 2011, I think it was.
Yes, yeah, we go a long way back.
You were just talking then about Namibia, and in fact you still got 4 blocks in Namibia. Is that in the price? Is anything in Namibia in the price of the shares at the moment or not?
The answer is no, it's not in the price at all, simply because last year both Tullow and Chariot drilled 2 wells in the Wallabies Basin. Unfortunately, both wells came up uncommercial. They did have some gas shows, some hydrocarbon shows, but they were dry. However, Namibia has dramatically changed in the past year, and investors do not appreciate it yet. In 2018, came in 3 small players, Shell, Total, and Exxon, and took position in Namibia. Exxon, Morenprom, and Azinam are going to drill a well by September, right in the middle of our 4 blocks. Total is going to drill the deepest well that was ever drilled in West Africa by the end of the year, and Shell are going to drill it together with Cosmos. The fact that Exxon, Total, Shell, and Cosmos, big players with very deep pockets, are now in Namibia, suggests that we're going to see continuous exploration efforts by these companies. They didn't come to drill 1 well and to go home. That's not their style. This is the small companies. We can probably allow ourselves, back at the days, Cherry or Tower, to drill 1 well. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you go away. These guys are there and are there to stay until they come up with the first oil. Our 4 blocks are exactly surrounding Exxon's 2 blocks. I believe that with their ability and with their exploration experience and with their money, they will be able to identify where the oil is hiding, and therefore it will open up the entire basin and the play, and our blocks over there are going to be worth much, much more. Yeah.
Well, look, we've got to leave it there, but thanks indeed for joining us. We'll talk again, I hope, when you've got the drill bit underway in the Guyana.
I will call you from the rig.
Look forward to hearing more, Gil. Thanks so much indeed for dropping by. That's Gil Holzman. It's the Chief Executive of Eco Oil and Gas.